Hey, welcome back to How to Barbecue Right. I'm Malcolm Reed. Today I got my buddy Mark Williams from Swine Life here.
Good to see
Mark,
you, man.
how you doing,
Pretty
man?
good.
Appreciate you coming. We're gonna do a little barbecue experiment today. Instead of a recipe, I've been getting some questions about what happens to meat when you take it off the grill, that carryover time. What we're doing is kind of a two-part. We're gonna do a hot and fast experiment and a low and slow experiment. So I have a couple ribeyes that we're going to use for the hot and fast experiment, Mark. We're going to put them on the grill of Kong, we're going to get them seared off, and then we're going to see what happens to them. How far do they carry over? For the low and slow, I've got a couple pork butts already going. We're going to get those wrapped, and then when they get up to temp, we're going to take them off the pit. We're going to watch those carry over too and just see how far they go. It's going to be fun. I hope we're going to learn something. You ready?
Oh yeah, let's go.
Let's get the experiment. First thing I thought we would do is start with these ribeye steaks. Now you've already got the Kong fired up. You put some B&B lump charcoal in it, just used a couple wax cubes, get that fire going, just like we'd start at any grill. You could do this experiment on anything if you wanted to try it yourself. I figured I'm gonna let you cook these ribeyes today since you've been so successful here in the SCA steak cooking world. Why don't you get them seasoned up and we'll get ready to cook them.
Well, we're gonna start off with a little AP. I think any good cut of beef, you definitely gotta have that salt, pepper, and garlic.
Hit them with some AP, hit them with a little Swine Life.
I mean, this recipe here's got us paid many weekends.
All right, what kind of probes are you gonna stick in them here when it gets time?
We're gonna use the thermal work dots today. We're gonna, check the internal on these ribeyes. Hopefully somewhere dead middle of the loin. Try to shoot that 130 straight up best we can.
So we've got these ribeyes seasoned up. You just want them to rest, what, maybe 15 minutes?
10-15 minutes
tops.
tops.
Good to throw on the grill.
We're gonna do a just standard cook like we would at any contest. We're gonna have the grill of Kong running, probably 600, grate temp 625, and then
Good lump charcoal.
good
B&B
lump
charcoal.
Yes, sir. We'll put them on, run them 2 minutes, give them a twist, get them pretty cross hatches, flip them 2 minutes, and then we'll start checking internal. We're shooting for about that 130 range. So what I like to do after that final twist is I'm gonna try to get just dead center of that loin as best as you can. So I'll just kind of do a dummy mark and then go in there, and then we'll do the same for the other.
We've got one that's ahead of the other steak, and that's typical. Like when
Right.
you're cooking them, they're gonna cook the different times. One's 127, it's steady climbing. When it gets to 130, we're gonna start our experiment on holding on it. And we'll hold that one in the pouch first. And we're just gonna mark it and know what it is. And when I start the timer on it, we'll be ahead on this one. So we're hitting temp right there. So I'm gonna hold it for you, Mark. We'll drop it right in. We're gonna leave the probe in. Our alarm's going off on our second ribeye. It's hitting 130 dead center of that loin. So we pulled the steak off that we're just letting set uncovered. We took it at 130 mark, and it's done shot up 10 degrees fast. Now it did stay on a little bit longer, but the probe's not gonna lie to us. It's telling us, we verified it with the thermopin. After we just checked it, it's still 139, 140 degrees. And I don't think it's gonna climb a whole lot more than that, but we're gonna sit here and see. And you can see the one in the pouch, we've kind of stopped it. But what's it stalled out at? Is it steady climbing too? It's about 135, so it's carried over 5 degrees, and it's been going for, look at that, 4.5 minutes. We're seeing a slower climb in the foil, and it could be just the way these steaks cook, because ribeyes, they have more fat in them and more marbling, and so as that melts out, it might get higher temp. I think we're definitely seeing a good carryover. I mean, this one's done with 14 degrees over where we pulled it at. The probe change hasn't moved. All we've done is transfer it from the grill to the board here. All right, so our uncovered steak has finally reached its plateau, and it took it right at 4 minutes, 35 seconds, something like that. And now it's just gonna go down. So we knew that you got about 5 minutes hold just sitting out, and we climbed way further than I thought it would. I mean, it went up almost 15 degrees. Now, a lot of that has to be because of the fat in that steak. I wouldn't expect a leaner cut of meat to carry that far over.
Like you say, it's just so much thicker than the other one. They didn't realize until they started cooking and you seen them draw up that one is a lot more denser of a piece, so it would carry over more, you would think. But I'm anxious to see the difference in doneness if we still hit that, medium mark, or if we're over or under,
According to me, it should be well done.
It should be over, yes. So I'm wondering if, being it is a cool breeze out here, if that foil's actually pulling heat off that steak.
It very well could. It's radiating to the foil instead of trapping it in like we thought. So this is the covered steak that we had in the full pouch. It climbed up about 5 degrees in the foil, hung out for 11 minutes until it dropped back to where we took it off. Go ahead and let's cut it in half and let's check that doneness across that loin.
So it was 129 just then. And that one's catching up with it. It's dropping a little bit quicker now.
We're about 133 over on the uncovered steak. All right, so we've hit 130 in the uncovered steak, and you can see we hit that medium doneness in the covered one. Let's check this one, Mark. It took it about 11 minutes, too, to get back. So we had the same time frame from the maximum carryover to drop back to where we took it off. How did that one feel when you cut it?
That one felt softer.
So actually, the one that said uncovered, and even though it carried over further on the dots, it's still about the same degree of doneness. And I think that's just the nature of a ribeye. I mean, you can see these are both cooked in that medium range. They still have that pink that's going through them, and actually, as they set out, they're going to even oxidize a little more.
So kind of what I gained out of the deal was that, you know, after 5 minutes, that steak's carried over as far as it's going to go. Even with it being cool out today, they both, you know, carried over a good many degrees on their own. I was surprised the one in the pouch didn't just keep cooking, you know, a lot further.
That's what I would have thought, that it was the heat trapped in was going to make it go faster and fall slower. But they both fell at the same rate. In 11 minutes from coming off the grill, they were back down to that same temperature that we took them off at. So what's left now is to try them.
Yeah, I'm anxious to see if there's any texture difference.
You know, one thing that I noticed is the one that came off first and that we covered, it's got that medium doneness all the way across. It's pink from edge to edge. On the other one that stayed on a little longer, just like you would think, it had been on that side longer, so you get more of that graying. I'm gonna give me a piece of that spinalis you cut up. Man, that looks too good right there. Flavor's fantastic. Look at all that juice that was in that one. I mean, I know there's some of that juice probably in that pouch.
It was.
I want to see if it's colder when I try it. It doesn't feel colder.
What's your vote?
Well, the flavor is the same, but this one actually has a little bit better texture, but it's probably just the cut of steak. They're both good.
That's a tough call there.
That's a tough call. I think the biggest thing on this, Mark, is that we saw in 5 minutes, that's where we're going to get that carryover, and it's as far as it's going to go. And then you know after 10 total minutes, it's going to be back down. It's just going to get colder. Once you wait that 5 minutes off taking one off, you need to eat it, serve it, take it to the judges, whatever you're going to do. Because after that, it's just going to go south.
Right. I feel like in the foil pack, you might have a touch more control on your carryover. Because, I mean, it done it slower. I have no way to explain that, but it did. And that one there, you know, it shot through the roof and back. And I never would have thought it carried over that much just sitting out open like that.
Well, hey, it's off to the big meats now.
There we go.
So, Mark, for the low and slow experiment I wanted to do today, I seasoned a couple pork butts this morning. I hit them with some AP, hit them with a little bit of Mississippi grind, and a little bit of the barbecue rub for some color on them. And I got them on my gateway drum. Threw a couple chunks of hickory in there to get some smoke going. And then I just let them cook for about 4 hours, get some good color on the outside, let that bark really get set. Now we're going to wrap them, and we're going to take them to our target temperature, which is where our experiment's really going to start. So I've got one of my ThermalWorks dot alarms here, and I've got it set for 198 degrees. That's the internal temperature I'm looking for. You can see we've got some good color on this butt, and I've got a couple layers of aluminum foil laid out here to wrap it up. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to get about in the center of the butt where it's the thickest, and that's where I really want that target temp. So I'm gonna come from the side here and just go in about center ways, and then we're just gonna wrap it up. It don't have to be real neat. We want it to serve its purpose. Hold all that juice in, hold all that heat in, help get these butts done. So Mark, we got the butts wrapped. They're about 150 internal now, and we're gonna take them up to about 198 degrees, close to 200. That's when that butt's gonna be perfect for pulling. That bone's gonna come right out. What do you think's gonna happen to them when we rest them?
I think the butt itself, you know, with it already going to 198, you know, the one you're gonna camber over, put in the cooler is gonna go to at least, you know, 205 easily.
So you're thinking about seven degrees, somewhere in that same,
right.
The same range where we saw the steaks go. Is about all you're going to get out of them. And that's what I've always heard. 5 to 10 degrees is what you expect to carry over.
And I think a lot of it too is how much you're pushing it at the end. You know, if you're trying to rush and get that butt done and you're cooking at a higher temp, it's going to carry that momentum over even more, you know.
Yeah, I think you're right too. That's why I think the low and slow, to me, you get a little better result because you're not pushing it so much. I mean, you can get it there hot and fast, but I think the meat stays a little more tender as you take it up through there slowly. All right, Mark, that first butt is hit 198. So the other one's right behind it. It's about 195, but we're gonna go ahead and pull this one off. And this is our first test on the butts. I'm starting the timer on the first one, and this is gonna be our cooler experiment. And this is just a cheap cooler. We got it set up with some old towels in it. This is an Island Breeze Igloo. It's like a $20 cooler from like Walmart. And Mark, we're just gonna drop that butt right in it, leave the probe in. We're gonna see how far with the timer here that this butt carries over. When does it stop? And then when does it start coming back down? So our second butt is hit 198. We're gonna go ahead and get it off, and this is gonna be the one we're just gonna let set out on the board. And what I'm gonna do with it is I'm gonna start the timer on at 1. We're 15 minutes behind, so we've got 2 butts going now. The one in the cooler, you can see it has rose up in 15 minutes, only about 3 degrees. Now we're gonna see what this butt does, and we're gonna let it sit here. That's a lot of meat. It's got a lot of heat, a lot of energy in there, so it's gonna take it a while after it stabilizes to fall back down. I would still think this one's gonna be a couple hours. This before it gets to like below 140
Right.
where you had to serve it or you had to refrigerate it. It's still gonna be a while because we've got so much energy, so much heat built up in that meat. Both of our butts have hit that 201. They've climbed 3 degrees from where we initially took them off the pit. So it looks like that's all we're gonna get is about that, 3 degrees today. The cooler butt hit it about the same time.
Right.
I don't exactly remember where it was, but it was probably about 5-8 minutes in, and then it stopped. It hasn't moved, and it's been rolling, 25 minutes, and we're still sitting on 201 on it. And we're sitting here, after 8 minutes, we hit 201 in this one, and it's just hanging out.
With the cooler one, you're gonna maintain that temp a lot longer. And this butt's still rendering. It's off the cooker, but it's still rendering fat. There's no doubt.
When you're talking, you're still 200 degrees. I mean, that's still trying to give it up, The main thing I learned is it's not going near as far as I thought it
Right.
would.
I'd like to see this same thing done when it's 100 degrees outside, humidity high, see how much that changes, see if you do carry over more.
See if the
Right.
external temperature is more of a factor on the carryover, which I believe it probably could be. So here we are at the 30-minute mark, and we finally started to see the cooler butt drop down a degree. But the butt that's been setting out is trying to pop another one. It's trying to hit 202. This is completely shocking because I would have always thought that this butt wouldn't even climb as far and definitely wouldn't get above the one we stuck in the cooler. I mean, what do you think about that? That's crazy.
I think we're overthinking it. I mean,
I think so
all
too.
these years we've been cooking, we've always, tried to account for carryover, and we maybe account for something that really doesn't exist as much as we thought.
As drastic as we thought.
Right.
It definitely carries over. The first steak, we put it in a pouch, and it went about 5 degrees, and that was it. And then we left the one out on the counter, and it carried way over. And now the butt that we've got sitting out on the counter went further than the one that we've put inside, protected it again. So, hey,
I never would have thought it.
I never would have guessed that.
Nope.
We've hit 21 minutes on the butt that came off that we just let set out, and it's finally starting to go down. You can see the cooler butt, it's already back to 198. It took it about, 37 minutes, something like that, and that's where it got back to. So it went up 3 degrees. That was as far as it went, to 201. We actually got 4 degrees out of this butt, and now it's on its downhill climb. So, I mean, that's pretty much it. It's not gonna get any hotter. But we're gonna get into this one because we can't cook barbecue all day and not try some, right? Now let's put some heat gloves on. We're still 200 degrees with this butt. That is awesome. We'll take the probe out. We don't need it anymore. Ooh, I'm telling you, that is barbecue. Now, the bone coming out clean, Mark. Look at that. That is a thing of beauty. I'm gonna take this butt with my hands and bring it on out. I mean, this is pulled pork at its finest right there. And you can glaze this up. If we're feeding people, I'm just getting in here with my hands and I am breaking it up. I mean, that is awesome. That's what 198 carrying over to 202 does. You want to talk about pulled pork, all you have to do is run your hands through it and it's shredding.
Packed full of moisture.
Packed full of moisture. I mean, that is unbelievable.
You outdone yourself on that one.
There you go, Mark. Try some of that piece right there. That's what I'm talking about.
That was pretty good. We finna jazz it up just a touch.
You finna give it something?
Yeah.
You finna give it something? What are you gonna do to it?
Come on.
I hear you.
Just a little bit of finishing rub for that Mississippi grind.
I'm gonna work that in, Mark.
It does pretty good.
Work that pulled pork in. So, Mark, let's get it here. Try some of this, man. After we've got it doctored up with a little bit of grind. What do you want?
I gotta have a piece of bark.
I gotta have a piece of bark too. I mean, look at that. That's textbook pulled pork, Mark. I call that a barbecue experiment success.
Any experiment ends like that, I'll take it.
So what we learned off the butts? They carried over, but it didn't go near as far as we thought. Actually, the one sitting out on the counter went a degree further than the one we got in the cooler. Cooler butt's hanging in there. It's going to stay a long time. I'm probably going to film that later tonight after we're through wrapping up and everything. And I'll pop a bit on the back of the video how long that butt actually took to get down to about 140, because that's kind of that critical temp, Mark.
It changed my outlook on carryover for sure. I don't know how to explain the one sitting on the counter going further. You know, we talked earlier, you know, this cooler was cool. So, I mean, that butt had to work to get that cooler warm to stabilize. So that may have had a little effect on it, but all in all, I think it was a pretty good experiment. I mean, I learned something, so I'll definitely take it to bat next time we go to compete, whether it be steak or pork.
Well, Mark, that wraps up our barbecue experiments, man. Appreciate you coming out today.
Thank you, sir.
Where can everybody find you?
We got Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, Swine Life BBQ. If you got any questions, shoot us an email, anything about the ground, I'll be glad to answer them.
You can also find me, HowToBBQRight, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. We've got that new app. If y'all hadn't seen that, it's a great place to see the blog posts, see the videos. You can also catch a recap. We try to do a podcast every Friday talking about what we did this week. We'll talk about these recipes. Mark, I hope to have you on that.
Oh, yeah.
We can talk a little bit, but thanks for checking us out. If you like what we're doing here at HowToBBQRight, subscribe to our channel. You can hit the bell for notifications, and it'll let you know when we put out new stuff. We'll see y'all next time. So here we are, just a little over 5 hours, and you can see that butt's approaching that 140 degrees. I'm gonna go ahead and call this one, because man, it's been a long day. I'm gonna get it pulled up and in the refrigerator. This is the point where you would wanna serve it or think about how you're gonna store this butt. But you can see the hold lasts for a long time once that butt comes off the pit before it gets to that danger zone. And this butt is still hot. I'm gonna need to wear some insulated gloves as I pull it. But hey, the important thing here is to know that you can hold a butt for a long time once it comes off, and it's still gonna be great.